Right now, somewhere in this country, it is raining. Tens of thousands of gallons of clean, soft, free water are falling on the roof of a house. They are running down the gutter, splashing into a downspout, washing across a driveway, flowing past a sidewalk, and disappearing into a storm grate at the curb. That water is gone. It is not feeding the soil. It is not watering the trees. It is not soaking into the ground around the house. It is on its way to the nearest river, and from there, to the ocean. And the same week that water leaves, the man who lives in that house is going to walk out into his dying yard with a garden hose in his hand and pay the water company to give him back water that the sky already gave him for free. Pasture stays green in August when my English neighbors' lawns are the color of straw. My corn yields better than the farms on either side of mine, and I have never once stood in a field with a hose or a sprinkler or any kind of irrigation rig. The reason has nothing to do with luck and nothing to do with the weather. It has to do with what my great-grandfather did to this land in 1879, what my grandfather added to it in 1923, and what my own father taught me to keep doing every spring of my life. I want to show you something today that almost nobody outside of my community knows about, and there is a piece of concrete between your house and the street that is the single biggest reason your yard cannot drink. It is your sidewalk, and underneath it, hidden in plain sight, is a path to thousands of gallons of free water that is being routed past your property every time it rains. I am going to show you exactly how to redirect that water onto your own land. I am going to walk you through what it costs, who you need to hire for the part you cannot do yourself, and what the finished system looks like when the dirt goes back in place. Stay with me. This one matters. By the end, you will understand why your yard is dying when it should not be. You will know how to fix it in one weekend, and you will understand the part that should make you uneasy, which is that an entire industry has been built around selling you the cure for a problem the sky was already solving for you, free of charge, every time it rained. Let me start with what most folks do not understand about water, because if you do not understand this, none of the rest of what I say will help you. Water does not belong to the water company. The water company sells it to you, yes. They pump it out of the ground, and they treat it and they push it through pipes to your house, and they bill you for it. But they did not make the water. The water came from the sky. The sky has been giving it away free for as long as there has been a sky. In a single year, a roof the size of an average house, say 2,500 square feet, will catch somewhere between 30,000 and 70,000 gallons of rainwater. I am not exaggerating. You can do the math yourself. 1 inch of rain on 1,000 square feet of roof produces about 620 gallons of water. The numbers add up faster than most folks realize. In a normal year, the roof of your house alone catches enough water to fill a backyard swimming pool twice. The same week that water washes off your roof, you turn on your hose and pay the utility company $200 to water the same yard the rain just rolled off of. I want you to sit with that for a moment because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Every gutter on every house in your neighborhood, every storm grate at every curb, is a leaky faucet. Free water pouring away while your neighbor stands in his dying grass with a hose in his hand, wondering why his water bill keeps going up. When I was a boy, maybe 8 years old, my grandfather Daniel took me out to the kitchen garden one morning in April. He was carrying 2 clay flower pots, both the same size, both filled with the same garden soil. He set them down on the porch rail. In the first pot, he mounded the soil up into a little hill in the middle, smooth, rounded like the top of a baby's head. In the second pot, he pressed his thumb down into the middle of the soil and made a shallow bowl, a little dip, the way you would shape soil if you were about to plant a tree. Then he handed me a single bean from his pocket. He told me to push it down into the top of the little hill in the first pot. He handed me another bean and told me to drop it into the bowl in the second pot. We covered both seeds with the same amount of soil. Then he said, "Every morning before breakfast, you bring a cup of water out to this porch and you pour half on each pot. Same amount, same time, same place. We will see what we see." I did this for 3 weeks. I never missed a morning. The bean in the hill never came up, not once. The soil on top of that little mound stayed dry as bone every day, no matter how much water I poured on it. The water just rolled down the sides of the hill and ran off the lip of the pot. The bean in the bowl came up on the 8th day. By the end of the 3rd week, it had 2 leaves. By the end of the month, it had 4. By July, it was climbing a stick. My grandfather did not explain what he was teaching me. He did not need to. He pointed at my neighbor's yard across the lane, flat, smooth, sloped slightly away from the house toward the road, and he said, "That yard is the hill in the pot." And he pointed at our garden, which was terraced and pitted and shaped, and he said, "This one is the bowl." I have never forgotten it. And it is the single most important idea in this whole video. The shape of your yard determines whether it drinks the rain or whether it sheds the rain. That is the entire game. A yard shaped like a smooth, sloping hill, which is what almost every house in America has, because builders bulldoze the lot flat and then slope it slightly away from the foundation, and they pour a sidewalk and a curb on top of it, that yard cannot drink. The water hits the roof, runs down the gutter, hits the driveway, hits the sidewalk, hits the curb, and the entire system is designed to move it away from your house as fast as possible. Your builder did not give you a yard. He gave you a roof tilted out toward the road with a series of concrete barriers between the rain and your soil, and the biggest of those barriers is your sidewalk. Your sidewalk is the choke point. It is the wall between your yard and the place the water is going. If you put one small hole through that wall, a 4-inch pipe set in concrete, sloped so water flows from the street side back into your yard, you change everything. Now when it rains, the water that would have run past your sidewalk into the storm grade gets diverted underneath the sidewalk back into your yard, into a system you have built to catch it and soak it into the ground. Free water, thousands of gallons a year onto your own property. This is what I want to walk you through. The first thing you have to know is that you cannot cut the sidewalk yourself. In almost every town in America, the sidewalk is technically public property. Your town is going to have rules about who can cut it and how it has to be put back. You hire a sidewalk contractor. They have the saw, they have the city permit, and they know the rules. In most towns, it will run you somewhere between $500 and $1,000 to cut a section, embed the pipes, and pour the concrete back. That sounds like money. It is money, but it is one payment one time, and after that you have a system that catches free water for the next 50 years. If your community will not let you cut the sidewalk, you can do almost the same thing by cutting through the curb instead. A curb cut where the water from the street is allowed to flow directly into a depression you have dug in your front yard. Same idea, same result. Either way, the goal is to get the water across the line. When the contractor comes, you tell him this. You want 2 4-inch PVC pipes set into the new concrete, running from the street side to the yard side, sloped about 2 inches downward toward the yard. 2 pipes, not 1. So if one clogs with leaves, the other one still works. The pipes need to stick out a little on both sides of the sidewalk so you can connect to them later. That is the only part you pay someone else for. The rest, you do yourself with a shovel. On your side of the sidewalk, the yard side, you are going to dig a trench. The trench runs from the ends of those 2 PVC pipes back into your yard, sloping gently downhill. It does not have to go far. 10 or 15 feet is plenty for most lots. At the end of that trench, you are going to dig the most important hole in your whole yard. We call it a soaking pit. The English have started calling it an infiltration basin. Same idea. We have been digging them since before there was a word for them. A soaking pit is a round hole about 3 feet across, about 3 to 4 feet deep. You line the bottom with about a foot of coarse gravel, the kind with big chunks the size of your thumb. On top of that, you put a layer of smaller stone, pea gravel size. The whole thing acts like a sponge. Water pours into it, sinks down through the gravel, and from there it has nowhere to go but sideways into the soil. The plants and trees within 30 feet of that pit are the healthiest plants on the whole lot. The 2 pipes from under the sidewalk come into the top of that pit. When it rains, water flows from the street, down the gutter of the road, into the pipes, under the sidewalk, down the trench, and dumps into the soaking pit. From there it spreads sideways underground, feeding everything growing nearby. There is no standing water, no mosquito breeding ground, no swamp in your yard, just gravel under sod with the entire output of one good rainstorm sitting underneath it being slowly drunk by the soil. I had an Englisher who lives down the road from me try this last summer. He has a big maple tree by his front porch that was dying, leaves browning in July, branches dropping. He paid a contractor $600 to cut his sidewalk and set 2 pipes. He dug the trench and the pit himself in one Saturday afternoon. That fall, the tree leafed out late and looked thin. By the next summer, the same tree was full and green and putting out new growth. He told me he had not watered it once. He just stopped letting the rain run away from it. That is what one weekend of work and one contractor's invoice will do for your yard. Now I want to take it one step further because the system I just described is good, but you can make it better. And this is the part my grandfather built into our farmhouse in 1923, which has been feeding water to my kitchen and my wife's garden for 100 years. Above ground, between the sidewalk and the soaking pit, you can put a barrel. A barrel set in the trench with the 2 pipes from the sidewalk feeding into it from one side and an overflow pipe out the other side going to the soaking pit. The barrel acts like a buffer. Most of the water that comes through the pipes during a rainstorm fills the barrel first. The overflow, only the excess, goes on to the soaking pit. Now you have stored water you can use directly. You put a tap on the side of the barrel low down. You hook a garden hose to that tap. When you want to water your tomatoes or your wife's flower bed or fill the chicken's water dish, you do not turn on the spigot connected to the water company. You turn on the tap on the barrel. Free water, gravity-fed, no pump, no electricity, no bill. A 55-gallon plastic drum will run you about $30 at any farm supply store. A larger plastic tank, 300 gallons, 500 gallons, runs $400 to $600. Whichever you choose, it pays itself off in about 1 season. Now under our kitchen, the cistern my grandfather built in 1923 is the same idea, just bigger and underground. It is a brick room, 8 feet deep, 12 feet long, lined with hand-laid stone. It holds 9,000 gallons. The gutters of the house pour straight into it. A hand pump on our kitchen counter draws water up from it. And from a tap on the south wall of the house, a gravity-fed pipe runs out to the garden so my wife can water her tomatoes without ever touching anything connected to a water company. Cisterns like ours are not exotic. 100 years ago, almost every house in America had one. There is a neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio, called German Village. And if you walked it today and looked underground, you would find a brick cistern buried beneath nearly every property. The same is true in old parts of Philadelphia, of Baltimore, of any city that grew up before municipal water lines. People knew the sky was the source. They built to catch it. Then the water companies came. The cisterns got filled in with dirt. The gutters got pointed at the storm sewer. A generation later, nobody remembered there was a brick room under the kitchen. I want to take a moment here because this is the part that I think matters most and because the people who watch this channel deserve the truth about why this knowledge was lost. Think about who profits when your rain runs into the storm sewer. The water utility profits. Every gallon of rain that washes off your roof and disappears down the street is a gallon they get to sell you back. A typical American household uses 30 to 50% of its water on outdoor irrigation. Lawns, gardens, flower beds, washing the car. All of that water is being purchased from a utility, billed at a utility rate when it could have been free and on-site. Multiply that across 100 million households, and you are looking at billions of dollars a year in revenue that exists entirely because nobody is catching their rain. The lawn care industry profits. A yard that cannot drink the rain that falls on it needs constant irrigation, constant fertilizer, constant treatment. Every dollar you spend on sprinkler systems, lawn services, weed killer, soil amendments, that is money you would not be spending if the shape of your yard let it drink for itself. The landscaping industry profits. Flat lots are cheap to build and easy to mow. Shaped lots are slower to build and require more thought. Builders standardized on flat because flat is fast, and the consequence that your yard cannot hold water was not their problem. Even the stormwater bond market profits. Towns and cities go into debt to build bigger and bigger pipes, bigger tunnels, bigger flood control systems, all to handle the runoff from yards that were never designed to hold their own water. Underground storm tunnels in some cities now cost $1 billion apiece. That debt is held by bondholders, paid back by your tax dollars, and the entire premise that water must be moved away as fast as possible was never questioned. I am not telling you this to upset you. I am telling you because once you see it, you cannot stop seeing it. Every storm grate, every downspout pointed at a sidewalk, every flat, featureless lawn. That is a system designed to take a free resource and turn it into someone else's revenue. We did not lose this knowledge by accident. We lost it because somebody benefited from the loss. We kept it on Amish farms because we had to. When you do not have a water company, you have to catch your own rain. When you have caught your own rain for 200 years, you do not forget how. So, here is what I want you to do. Walk out to your sidewalk during the next hard rain. Stand on it and watch. Watch where the water from your yard goes when it hits the concrete. Watch where the water from the street goes when it runs down the gutter past your house. Watch the storm grate at the corner take everything in. That is the water you are losing. That is the money you are paying to replace it. Then make a plan. Call a sidewalk contractor. Get a quote on cutting one section and setting 2 4-inch pipes through it. While you are waiting for the work to be scheduled, dig your trench and your soaking pit. Buy a barrel. The whole project costs somewhere between $500 and $1,200 all in, depending on whether you add the barrel and how big a tank you choose. It pays itself off in 2 seasons. It works for the next 50 years. If your town will not let you cut the sidewalk, do the curb cut instead. If you cannot do the curb cut, run a 4-inch flexible pipe from your downspout straight to a soaking pit in the middle of your yard. Any of these work. Any of these get you free water out of the sky and into the soil where it belongs. Tell me in the comments below where you live, what your sidewalk looks like, where your downspouts point. I read every one of these, and tell me if you do the work. I want to hear how it goes. Next time, I'm going to take you down into the brick cistern under my kitchen. The inside of it, the hand pump, the gravity feed pipe that runs to my wife's garden, and I'm going to walk you through what it would actually cost to build a smaller version of the same thing in your own basement. You will not believe how affordable it is when you stop letting other people sell you the water that the sky is already giving you for free. Until then, walk your land, watch the water, and remember, the people who built this country with their hands knew things we are only just starting to remember.